Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to another episode of Tabletop Reviews. But today I'm having a look at Viticulture, finally. Because trying to record this episode, just everything messed up. So finally, it's on the table, I'm ready to record. I do have the wine crate, and that of course also means that I have Viticulture World, the cooperative expansion. I haven't played it yet, unfortunately. So there will not be a review for that. There will be a review for Viticulture Essential Edition and Viticulture Tuscany Essential Edition. And of course more visitors from Rhine Valleys, of course, in that bundle. But I will simply show the setup for Viticulture Essential Edition, how you change it to Tuscany, and then of course the two added modules for Tuscany. Real quick. Yes. Okay, let's undergo the challenge of trying to set this up in a reasonable time. Alright, let's get the rule books and everything out of the way. So, let us start off with the central board, just making sure that I got the correct one. Starting off with regular Viticulture Essential Edition, just a small little board right here. Bam! Then every player will get a player sheet here in a certain color. This is green and this is purple, you can see right here. The buildings have the color of the player, so put that on here. Then we will bring out, you see that was green and purple. So for this box, of course, I have these little holders right here for every player color. So that's green and that's purple. Just simply grab all the things in here, and then you have all the things you need to play Viticulture Essential Edition. We'll go over what the different things are in just a second. There we go. On the board for now. Move this over to the side. Don't need that. We have this big one here. So these are Tuscany cards, but I'll show that in just a second. Then we have these clear resin ones. These will mark your wine tokens. Just put that in reach. Coins, put that in reach. And then you have these two. I'll explain what those are in just a second. Then you of course have the different colored cards. Yellow, you put that on yellow. Blue, put that on blue. And then I just have all these ones in a pile here. Orange is for Tuscany. I'll talk about that in just a second. I keep on saying that anyways. And green and purple of course. Bam, and bam. Alright, then every player is gonna get a 3-pack of fields for a value of 5, 6, and 7. See right here. Not only does it mark the price it costs, it will give you for selling them, or if you want to buy them back. It is also the amount of grape, the value of the grapes you can have on it. I'll get to that in just 2 seconds. Alright, as always, I'm just going to focus on one player. Alright, then every player will get a Mama and a Papa card. These are the Papa cards, and this is the Mama card. So let's just grab the top one. So, the Mama card gives you a starting hand of cards. This is, in this instance, it is 3, a green, a purple and a blue. To me, just personally, I would love starting off with the green and the purple. And it gives you 2 workers. 2 workers, you always get 2 workers. And then of course, a difference in cards. Then you have the Papa cards here. The Papa cards always give you the Grande worker. Now sometimes it gives you cash. Now it will also always give you the choice down here. Usually it is a building or some more coins, more lira. But I have seen maybe it's a card or something, but it's usually a building and some lira. And it will sometimes give you guaranteed lira. So this one gives you 5 lira and a Grande worker, and then a choice of these 2. If you want a recommendation, I would say get this one. It is the trellis, and it is used to plant some wines, especially when you already start off with 5. But that's just me. So that is my starting hand and my starting amount of workers. Let's just put that up over here. That's purple, so the Grande and the 2 others. Bam. And then it was a green, a purple, and a blue. And of course 5 lira and also 5 lira, and I choose to start off with the trellis. Hopefully that's good. Anyways, that's the player setup, almost done. Oh yes, there's a lot more to do. Go. You can see down here at number 7 you have an extra worker. I'll get to what that means in just a second. Okay, so you have a couple of things here that you need to place down. So you have your wine bottle right here, which you will place down here on residual payment on this, on the lira symbol, which is 0. You can slowly move it up on it. And you have just a cylinder right here. This is your point marker. You place it on start, and then you choose a starting player. Who will get the starting player grapes here. Just say it's purple, and then the starting player will start off by placing his rooster in a wake-up position. This goes from 1 through 7. The 1 guarantees you to be starting. No one can take the spot from you, which means you get to place your workers out first, but you don't get a reward. And then you have second, third, and fourth. Yeah. And they give you either an extra lira, a victory point, some extra cards, or this one gives you an extra worker for the year. But it also guarantees you to be last. So maybe that's the best reward, maybe it isn't. But you place it out in a starting order. Let's just say I place it here to start. The person that started the previous year then gets the grape wines and gets to place his rooster out first next year. But we're ready to start. So we start off in summer first. And I can show you, just right here. You can see it needs a trellis, and I chose to have it, so that's great. I can plant that right away. And here you have the value of it. So that means this is 2. And if I decide to play a plant, which is right there, I can plant it down here, and I can now only have 3 value more on that one because it's 5. And now I've used one of my workers to do that. That's the essence of worker placement. Here you have an example of an order. So this one needs a value of 3 red wine, a value of 3 white wine, which is done on your little plate down here. Let me just show you real quick, which is right here. So what you will do is you will plant, if you want to, you can harvest your field over here, harvest the field I just made here, which would give me 2 white here, but maybe I would have more. But if I got, 3 white, 3 red, I can then go ahead and make up to 2 wine tokens down here, which is basically moving them from here to over here. And then I can fulfill the order if I had those 3, giving me 3 victory points and 1 residual payment, which is this right here. So at the end of the year now, I will always get 1 extra lira. As an example, of course. Yes. Anyways, you have it's split into summer and winter. So we have yellow over here for summer and blue over here for winter. The things you can do in summer is you can play a yellow card, which has some sort of ability. I only have a blue card, but it's some sort of ability that might help you out a little bit. You can draw a green card, which is more, more fields to harvest. Here's a 1 red, which would be absolutely fine for me. You have sell at least 1 grape or buy, sell 1 field. So this is where you could sell one of your fields and get the money for it, or your grapes, which would be placed down here. Hold on. Down here, and here you can see the value 1, 2, 3 for these ones over here. So you could sell that for that value. You could plant, as I just showed you. You could build a structure. It's any of your structures down here, which you can build. They help you out in different ways. The irrigation is very much necessary again for planting certain plants. And you have where are they? They're here. The cellars, large and small. These ones are necessary to store wines of high quality. As you can see down here, you need it's the medium cellar and the large cellar to store these ones and these ones. That might be necessary later on in the game, but if you just get a whole bunch of these ones here, as you can see, I just need 3 and 3. Well, I don't need any of the cellars. I could save my money. Anyways, when every player has gone through summer and they're happy with their action for summer, you say I pass. the player then, if another player wants to continue, they just continue. But when they say pass, we go on to winter. But first, we're in fall, where we get to draw a visitor cards. These are these ones, the blue and yellow. They are visitor cards. You get to choose yourself which ones you want to draw. Maybe you want to get a yellow or blue, whatever. You decide which ones to draw, and then we move on to winter. And in winter, as I said, you can harvest your fields, you can make up your wine tokens, or you can fulfill an order. You can play a blue card here, or you can draw another purple card, which are others. Another order here. See, again, this would be fairly lucky because I just need a 4 and a 3 white. So again, I don't need to build the settlers. This is actually a decent start, I would say. That's just my opinion. I would love to have this to be my next game, honestly. Can this be my next game? And you can also train a new worker. You pay 4 lira to train a worker, and when you train a worker, you lay him down flat like so, to show that he's trained and he's available for you next year. And that's the orders of winter. You can always place a worker right here to gain an extra lira. Maybe you just have a worker to spare and he can be placed there. When every player has done their actions there, and a pass again, you can enter year end. So the first thing you do is you age all your grapes. So that means let me just grab this one. If, for example, I had I harvested my field and I had a 2 right here, then at year end I move up to a 3. Simply, aging them. Very thematic. Wine does in fact get better with age. Retrieve workers basically means you take all your workers and you place them back on your board. And if you had the grey worker, he's placed back over here. Then, as I said, you collect the residual payment. There's nothing right now, but if I had that, I would collect 1 lira. And then you would discard down, so you only had 7 cards on hand. Right now 3, but you can have no more than 7 on hand at the end of the year. And then, as I said, whoever was at the top gets the first player token to play for next year. And that's basically how you play basic viticulture. Now, just clear this up and bring out Tuscany. And a few things you upgrade to it. Oh boy. And here it is. This board is quite a bit larger. Okay, if I can fold it out. There we go, there we go. Bam! Alright, let's start on this side. This is the basic Tuscany side. Bam! Okay, so on the basic Tuscany side, there's a few things to note. First of all, residual payments up here. And then these two are very different. The first thing is different is that you now have a spring, summer, autumn, winter with some different actions. You can draw a green card, you can give a tour to gain 2 lira. I forgot about that one, the other one, but you give a tour and you gain 2 lira, so that's good. Build a structure, place or move stars. I'll get to that in just a second. In summer you can play a yellow card, you can plant a great card. You can trade 1 for 1. It is 2 cards, 3 lira, 1 victory point, 1 on your 1 grape token value. What that means is just either 1 yellow or 1 red, in case you were wondering. But what you could do with that one is, for example, if you had like say you had a 4 value one, right? You could trade 1 value of it, which means you move it down to 3. Move it down to 3 and then get a victory point for that. Over here, draw a purple card, harvest the field, make up to 2 wine tokens, build a structure or give a tour to gain 2 lira. So the secondary option to build a structure, give a tour. And then you have play a blue card, train a worker for 4 lira, 1 again, sell a wine token. So these are, of course, these over here. And you can see on the value, so the red or the white wine is just 1 victory point, the rosé is 2 victory points, and a champagne is 3 victory points. No, 4 victory points, sorry. And then you can fulfill an order. And you always have the option of placing over here to gain 1 lira. Now the noticeable big differences over here is the wake up chart. The wake up charts over here is a bit different. The way you now choose a starter is by grabbing the roosters and you shake them up maybe, and oh, purple went. That was not on purpose. And then purple gets to choose a place to start. The only way to get the first player token is to choose row 7 down here. But you don't get the rewards right away. You are now starting it here, you're number 7, and you're now in spring. You take your actions, all players pass, and you move your rooster along to get the reward. So in this instance, I will get the extra worker now for summer. Then I move on to fall, I get to draw whatever card I want. And then in winter, I get the first player token. And then 5, 6, and 7 have 3 rewards, 3 and 4 have 2 rewards, 2 has 1 reward, and 1 has 0 rewards as well. Again. So a bit different there, progressive rewards, pretty interesting. Then you have this one down here. These are the stars, and the stars are placed in this holder for every color. Anyways, so let's say you use the action to place or move a star. You take the star and you place it, for example, in Stena region right here. That gives you 1 lira. And at the end of the game, if you have the most amount of stars in that region, it gives you 2 victory points. They give you different rewards and different amount of victory points at the end of the game, if you have most stars in that region. Alright, there are 2 more modules to talk about when it comes to Tuscany. To talk about the first one, it is the structure cards, and that actually needs me to turn the board around. And there we go. It's the same actions, except some of them now have the option of drawing a card. For example, over here, gain a lira or draw an orange card. This card, let's bring it up, which will be placed right there. These ones are structures. You will also get a structure expansion right here. Bam. So let's draw a random structure card and look at it. The shot. Fulfill an order and do a star action. Pretty decent, eh? If I can fulfill my order, I can get all that, and I can get to place a star over here. It costs 5 lira, as you can see. Can you see it? It costs 5 lira to build, and it costs you, of course, having to place on build 1 structure. You place it over here, and then you can place your worker on it to take the action, like any other action. It's a simple expansion. That's honestly all there is to it. Draw cards whenever in. Of course, now number 4 has 3 actions, 3 rewards, as the third is an orange card, just to add to it. And that's that expansion, that extra little thing. Then we have the special workers right here. Just bring it out for you. Bam. These special workers right here. Now, how are they special? Well, they are special based on the card you draw for them. So you draw a card like this. For example, Politico. When you place the Politico on a bonus action space on the board after you take the action and gain the bonus, you may pay 1 lira to gain the bonus again. That's pretty interesting. If you want to build a structure, you can pay 1 lira to build 2 structures, for example. So you place this one somewhere you can see it. Let's just place it here for now. And you will place one of the workers on top. Like this, so it's to symbolize this worker. And every person has a worker in their color. In this one, in this box here. I'm just trying to see if I can get the correct one out. Probably can. Okay, like this. Now if I want this worker to be in my worker stash, I need to, of course, use the action, pay for to train a worker, and then pay 1 lira extra, as stated up here, to get this worker right here. And then, of course, I can always know it is the one because it is this special looking one. And that's how I know that this is the worker that I have. I believe all of them cost 1 lira. Yes, they all cost 1 lira, and you have all these options right here for special workers to have. Another simple addition to the game that adds some tactical choices and figure and stuff. And that is Tuscany Essential Edition, well, how it changes up the game. As I said, all the 4 seasons are now split, so which means you can't move on to summer until you all pass from spring, and all pass from summer you go into autumn, that way around. And of course the addition of the stars is brilliant. So that's all the Tuscany Essential Edition adds, and how you play Viticulture. How do you win it? Well, it stays right here. So on Tuscany it's 25 points. On regular Tuscany Essential, on Viticulture Essential Edition, it's 20 points. But basically, when someone has the cylinder on 25 or past 25, that is the last round. If it happens in summer, you still have autumn and winter to go. For the other player who might be at what? Like here, at 18. So can you get those final, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like those final 9 or so points to maybe overtake him and win. Of course, in the end, the person with the most amount of points win. If you are level on points, it's down to lira. The one with the most amount of lira wins. If you are level on lira, it comes down to wine tokens in your cellar. If you are even on wine tokens in your cellar, it comes down to your grapes. If you are even on your grapes, then they don't have another win condition, because that's freaking impossible. I have played a game where we went down to wine tokens, but it's rare. Anyways, that is how to play and how to win and how to set up and all of that for Viticulture Essential Edition. Now let's talk about my thoughts on this beautiful game. And that is the setup and gameplay of Viticulture Essential Edition and Tuscany Essential Edition. With another great cut to the setup. And I still don't know what to say to get to that. But anyways, let's talk about the gameplay of Viticulture and of course how it changes in Tuscany. The base mechanic of Viticulture is of course worker placement. Well, it's one of the few you have placed in the workers out. And this is my first bout into worker placement. I've played some since. I have to say I really enjoy it. I enjoy having the limited amount. You kind of have, same in wingspan, not quite, but kind of the same. That you have these cubes, and that's what you have to work off of. You do have to play some games where you have like here to Slay or something, where you just you're told you have 5 action points to spend. This is how you can spend it, whatever. You have to keep track of that yourself. I love having the cubes or the figures or whatever to place out and go, okay, I'm going to do this now. And I'm going to do this. And then a little bit like Wingspan, except this is of course way more contested on the main board. Because you place one at a time instead and you all fight for the same spots, limited spots. So really like that aspect, the worker placement and trying to, you know, place your workers correctly, mixed with the wake up schedule. You with that you of course get the choice of better rewards, or do you want to place down your workers first? And placing down your workers first might be really good, or those rewards might be really good. You know, the final reward is an extra worker. And in the early parts of the game, that might be what you want to do. Get that extra worker and go at it. So I think the wake up routine with the worker placement really works well, because it makes the choices, you get the rewards, but maybe you don't get to do what you want. But you of course have the grounded workers, so you're guaranteed one thing. It's a 100% guarantee that you're going to get to do one thing on your turn that you really want to do. But there's always, but most of the things you can do on your turn feel useful, right? Okay, I couldn't grow, harvest my field, so now I can get a new purple card maybe, or blue card or yellow card to just add to the collection, and maybe I can just get money. There's somewhere you just place it and get some money, some lira, of course, not money. And I think that works really well. All the options are there, and they work out really well, I think. Of course, you have this split up of them in summer and in winter, which it works fine that you have some you can do now and some you can do next turn, which I think is pretty great, because it makes you think, like, what do I need to do now and what do I need to wait with doing, because I can do it all now, but if I want to do this, maybe I need to build up with this, you know, going at it like that. So the wake up, the routine, and it works really well for me together. And of course, at higher play counts, you do have rewards for taking the action first, which is nice, so that all of a sudden that thing of choosing to be number one can be outweighed by the fact that you can maybe get that extra reward. So I really very much feel like it's quite a balancing act to it. And then of course Tuscany comes in, and the main thing Tuscany does is that it adds up so that spring and autumn are their own seasons. So now you don't just have summer and winter, you also have fall, or spring and autumn. And I think adding that is brilliant. Because as I said, with summer and winter, you kind of think, okay, what do I do in the summer, what do I do in the... Now you have 4 seasons to think about, where you have to think, okay, I have these 4 options now, and then I have these 4, and then these 4, and these 4. What do I need to do to make the most of the next seasons? Because you kind of think that. You kind of think, okay, if I plant this field, I can harvest it here. But to do that, maybe I should draw more cards, because you do that at the start, and maybe you harvest the field. Or maybe you always have to put them down, and you just bet on getting a yellow card, and hope that yellow card got to be something good. There is this, you know, thinking the turns ahead and how you're using your figures. And of course, in this one, you don't get the reward immediately. You have progressive rewards. So that means that being higher up means you get less rewards. The lower down you will get 3 rewards, higher up you're going to get 1 or even 0. And then again you have that balancing act. But you do have a great opportunity of taking the rewards as being the first to place them down. And now even in 2 players you have that. In regular Viticulture, only in 3 players you get that. So very interesting to add that to the wake up schedule and the board itself. Split up like that. It makes you think a little bit more and makes it every decision count a bit more than it did in regular Viticulture. And I fully, after playing it, I fully understand why people say Tuscany, you must play with Tuscany. I get it. I will always play with Tuscany, and I will always play with the 2 modules that it adds. So the first module, let's start about that one. I can quickly touch upon residual payment. I think it's a good system. That's like one of the final parts of the gameplay. That's regular. Anyways, residual payment is, I think it's a really good system. You complete one of your tasks early on and you get a money bonus for that every single round. I think that works really well, and doing it properly, you can sit there and go, okay, I can complete this one, and then next turn I'll get 2 extra coins, which means I can afford this one. You know, it can work like that. It's again, it's thinking ahead, how to use all your cards to maximum. I think that's really great. The yellow and blue cards, I will say, only at times are they useful. They're definitely you sit with the hand and you go, this one is not really useful, just lay it down here. And Tuscany does realize this, I think, and gives you the option of trading a card for like a lira or a victory point. In I believe it's in autumn you have that option, trade 1 for 1, and you can do it almost as many times as you want. I think that's an absolutely brilliant thing. You just get an extra victory point or something if you have a completely useless card, or maybe you need that extra lira or something. So I think that's a really great addition to it. And of course you have the stars, the influence, the final bit. I think there's way too much to judge upon. Anyways, I think that's a really good system as well. Although I think the action in autumn, where you have, no, that's in spring, sorry, where you can just place a star and the reward is placing another star. I see it as a little bit useless unless you're like in late game and you know 1 more star, 2 more stars, I get that field and that's 2 victory points at the end. I could really use that, and you have an extra figure or an extra worker to use. That's like the only time I see it as overly useful. Otherwise, the cards that also let you do that, I've used those, I've gotten some of those, and they're really, really useful. That is definitely a good addition. The space itself is... okay, let me just think before I move on to the structure cards. Is that everything that is to the gameplay? Yeah, I think that's everything that is to gameplay. I think it's very interesting that you get minus points. That's very interesting to me. I haven't seen anyone use it in the games we've played, but maybe that is useful in certain circumstances. Anyways, structures. We get structure cards. You can of course build structures already, which are perfectly fine, I think. The reason I don't touch upon them is because I think the only thing they add is theme and a little bit of challenge to go through. But I think it works perfectly fine within the game. And it's of course just another option to do that. To build them. It works within the game. And then you have the structure cards, which are a little bit different. Maybe grant you an extra action to. And some of them, it's the same with the blue and the yellow. Some of them can be really, really useful. Like one I got was all of my structures was 1 lira less. That is very useful actually. But there isn't an overly high amount of them that are very, very useful. And one of them actually I remember was complete a card, a order. And if you do that, place a star. That's incredibly useful. But then you also have some that's like, get points for doing this. Okay, well, I draw this at the end of the game, so that's completely useless to me now. You kind of feel that as well with some of the yellow and the blue ones. It's very early or late game stages that you use them. And that's unfortunately, of course, if you get one for later stages of the game early, you just save that and wait. I know, ready for this one. Some of them as a certain amount of points for your opponent or something. So that's pretty useful. But it's a mixed bag, I think. But I like having the option. I like that you get this extra action that might be good, might be meh. Or just an upgrade, like, 1 lira less. I think it works very well, and I really like that addition to it. And then of course you have special workers. And the special workers will draw 2 cards and then assign it to one of the two workers there. I feel the same as well. Like the cards are very much like gameplay wise. I'm focusing on this, so now this one is useful to me. I would rather save that 1 lira, or maybe it's like I'm focusing on another path and it's very, very useful to me. I need that. It's another mixed bag, and I think that's what I can say about these power cards and the structures and abilities and stuff. It's a very mixed bag that it's either very useful or very useless. Depends completely on your gameplay, what your plan is for the game, and the stage of the game you're in. I think that's best how you describe it. But otherwise, I really like making wine, and it makes sense. If we're talking about theme, which I think we're just going to jump to now, I think there's a lot of thematic sense. The split off of summer and winter, and even in autumn and spring, based on my knowledge at least. I'm not an expert, I will admit that, but based on my knowledge at least, it makes sense when you do what, and completing the others and stuff, and giving a tour and all of that. It makes sense to me, at least based on my knowledge, in the time of frame, so thematic sense on the time of the year you do it, at least. And the structures, as I said, make sense somewhat. The yoke is a farming tool used on the field, so you can uproot the field and stuff. And irrigation, and the other one you need to plant some certain ones. Of course, there are certain ones that need that, as I say. And a larger cellar and a smaller cellar, and it just makes a lot of thematic sense. All the things you do on the board, and when you do it on the board, and what you have on yourself, you can build on the farm. It makes sense, and you get a little bit of extra cash for it, or you get some extra victory points because it's a boost for you to have this certain thing. It makes a lot of sense how you do it, and when you do it and stuff. About that, you can talk about the regions, the influence regions. Does it make sense that they give more victory points or not? I'm not knowledgeable enough to talk about that, but maybe that's something to talk about. But as far as I know, all the things is very thematic and very well done, I think, thematically. You feel like you're producing wine and you're serving others, and more expensive wine is still more difficult to store and create and stuff, of course. It doesn't fully make sense that a champagne is like, 2 whites and a red, or 2 reds and a white. That's not quite how it works, of course. But I don't think there's a lot of other ways to do it. Maybe I would have loved if it was something along the lines of you make it, and then you have Merlot and Pinot Noir and grapes and stuff. So it'd be awesome if you made that, and then an order was like, I need 2 of Pinot Noir or whatever. Something along the lines of you have made it, and then you have, yeah. I can't quite see how that would work, but that would be like the extra thematic step. But I can't quite see how it would fully work, to be honest. I'm not a board game designer, I think there's a reason for that. So, thematically makes sense. There's a little bit on the gameplay, also on the gameplay, what do you want to say? It isn't a straight line. You don't do all the things at once. Like in early game, you're very much focused on the start of the year, autumn and summer, and then towards the later stage of the game, you're a lot more focused on winter and autumn and winter, and it's spring and summer. I get that confused. I dislike that. I like a game that's more like linear, I compare to Wingspan, of course, because that's another Stone Meyer project. But it's pretty linear. Like you only have like the final 3 cubes where you very heavily probably focus on X. Like unless you have some bird card that can really change the card, you're probably just going to use the last 1 or 2 cubes to get some X, because that's points, right? I have experienced that you're sitting there and I can just get this bird card, and that's a lot of points. But in the end, I always sit there and calculate like how many X can I get, because that's an amount of points. How many points would you get this bird card down? So I always calculate that and be like, oh, and in the end I find usually the last couple of cubes are just X. But other than that, you're constantly linear, and you're building up some food, you're getting some bird cards, you're playing some bird cards, and you are getting X throughout the game. So it's very linear, it's the same throughout. But in Viticulture, there's a heavy spring and summer focus, and then a heavy autumn and winter focus. And I sort of dislike that a lot of focus here, then a lot of focus here. I would love to be more linear, but it's difficult with a game like this, I suppose. Towards the end, you're building up a farm first, and then towards the end, you just gotta complete a bunch of orders. So see why it works like that. But it's something I'm a little bit unhappy about. Let's talk about components now, shall we? So this one, first of all, you have all the wooden, the wooden buildings, the wooden workers, the wooden stars, everything. It's perfectly fine. I like the wooden bits. They're really great, and they work. And then they show what you need to do. The windmill. You have no doubt that that's the windmill. Place the wine bottle on the 0 on residual payment. You have no doubt about which one is the wine bottle. You don't. And the stars to place on it. You don't. You have no doubt. And the large cell and the small cell, and it shows exactly what it is. And the grande worker is very noticeable because it's larger. And even the 2 special workers from Tuscany didn't need the little paint job on them. They are distinct. They are their own character. You know who they are, based on the silhouette and stuff. And I think that's very important. And that's something that the regular meeple doesn't do perfectly well, because it's just the same shape. You do need that painting on. For example, meeples and monsters, you have distinct characters within it, but they need to have the print on it, or they're different colors. But in this one, the color is the player color. So it needs to have distinct silhouettes and looks, so you know exactly who's who and what you're playing with. And it does that perfectly. As I said, with the cellars, there's a small difference on them, the size of them and stuff. And it's small, but it's noticeable. You know it. You grab it up and this is the small cellar, I need the large cellar. You know what you're gonna get. So I think that's really brilliant. Absolutely. So those components I think are really great. The board, let's talk about the board. So the main board is great. I say that Viticulture has to make greatest boards in board gaming, and I stand by that, but this is a close second. It's a really good board, it's thick and it folds out. And it handles to being folded out and folded down multiple times. And artwork on it just makes sense where everything is. You have the fields on plants and the fields. Plant is ready to be harvested, and boats being loaded up with wine, and the artwork makes sense for what you're doing, where it doesn't feel like it's just like, okay, we need this build a structure. Actually, where do we want to put it? Somewhere. It makes sense. It's put there, but they're building a structure. It's on purpose, you know. And that might sound very obvious, and it is. It should be like that. But I just think it's great, and also just the layout of it. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like it's forced to be a building that is being built right there. It feels natural. It feels like it belongs in the tour that they're giving you to get some money. It's starting at the entrance. It makes sense. And I think that's very lovely. That it makes so much sense. Again, talking about theme, the artwork gotta go with the theme, and it very much does at the main board. Now our board, the player boards, very interesting. Again, the setup makes sense. You have the fields up here, and then how you have the buildings and the ones that belong to the fields, and planting them, they're up here, and it makes sense again. And on the very end, you do have your cellars ready to be shipped out at the end of it, the main building closest to you. Because that makes sense. I think that makes sense. That's closest to you. I just love it when you can really feel somebody has thought about the layout of the artwork and where it needs to go. I love that. So that's really great. The structures, a little extra building for 2 structure cards. It feels a little bit lower quality. It feels thinner and less durable than the other parts of it. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. And of course, then you have the cards, and the cards are smaller cards, and I hate small cards. But they also feel a little bit lower quality than what I would have wanted. They feel a bit thin, durable, not as durable as, for example, Ticket to Ride cards or even Wingspan's cards from the same company. That's a disappointing, of course, when it feels like that and doesn't feel like the quality you would want from a box like this. It's very annoying, but the artwork on the cards, again, full on. As long as the humans are okay. I prefer the humans from a distance than up close to some of the cards are. That's just me. I dislike the human artwork of this one. The final bit of components, of course, the inserts in here. I can actually grab one, but the plastic inserts here, I think they're brilliant. I usually would like to have some inserts myself and make them myself, but I don't think I'm going to replace the inserts for this one because they're absolutely brilliant. They work and they contain all the parts, and it makes sense where you want to put them. I think that's a brilliant work of these inserts, you know. Absolutely brilliant. That's really my opinion on that. And of course, but it's plastic. It's thin, stupid plastic. And oh yes, of course, we have the resin, clear resin ones to mark your wine and stuff. I think they're fine. They're cute little resin ones you place down, and they do the job of signifying this is the amount you have. No complaints, but not overly amazing, I don't think. But they're great. I think they're cute little ones, really good components. And of course the coins, the regular coins are just cardboard cutout. I don't think I have any complaints about it. It's fine, cardboard cutout, a little bit thin maybe, but fine. I of course have the metal coins. I've made a video earlier where I talk about accessories and I talk about metal coins, and metal coins are great. I love having the metal coins here clanging when you play for something and stuff. Just really great to have. It really adds to the theme, I think, as well. You know, paying the banker for your stuff with actual metal coins rather than just cardboard. I think those are great. So those are the components, the theme, the gameplay, everything. So, does it lie to you? Well, that actually doesn't say anything on this box here. This box is clearly made for a collector. This is not a retail box. This is a collector's box. Definitely. But as far as I remember, let me see. It says 1 to 6 players, I know that. And I have something to say about that. Then you of course have, I believe it's 60 to 90 minutes, it might be 90 to 120, I can't fully remember that. But I believe it's 60 to 90. And then you have, I believe it's 11 and up. So let's take 11 and up, that's the quickest one. Of course this is about alcohol and alcohol production and puts alcohol in a brighter light. So maybe you would say the minimum drinking age, which in Denmark is 15. But to me it's still just a game, and I think 12 or 13 is where I would put the limit on it, just because of the level of difficulty for this game. So that's just my opinion on that. Game time, 60 to 90. I believe that's what it says on the original box. I should have checked that up on it, but 60 to 90 minutes. With your 2 or 3 players, or just 1, that's fairly accurate. But if you're going 4, 5 or 6, I would put down 3 to 4 hours for it, really much. If you're playing with 6 players, where you're the only one who knows the rules, I would put down like 6 hours for it. Now wait, we're 5, not 6, yeah, sorry. We're 5 players, I was the only one who knew the rule, everybody needed to learn the rules. Oh my god, it took a long time. But it was fun and I ended up losing, so that's great. Losing to a bunch of noobs, yay. That's fun, but of course, always when you. But I 60 to 90 minutes, that's really only at 2 or 3 players. I don't think, even at 3 players, I think you need to put down at least 2 hours. So that, I think, is very inaccurate, that area. Then you have to play count, 1 through 6. I've done a review of number 1, of 1 player. It was fine, you can look at it, it works, it's good enough. If you like 1 player, definitely should take this, give this a try. 2 to 6. 2 or 3 is my recommendation. And 4 and 6, I don't want to play it. I don't want to play it 2 or 4 or 6. 5, we can say, yeah, okay. I would go along with 5, but the reason is simple. At 4 or 6, you're going to have 2 or 3 players. The majority of the players aren't going to get to do the actions that they want to do. And you say, oh, that's just part of the game. Sure. And the wake-up routine is much more important than those play counts. But at 4 or 6, I just, even a little bit at 5, but not as much. But at 4 or 6, I really feel like I couldn't do what I wanted to do. At 2, 3, and mostly at 5 as well, as I say. If I go out of the game and go, why did I do that? I don't feel like it's because I couldn't. I just feel like I made a wrong decision. I should have done that instead. I should have completed that order at that time, rather than waiting and completing at that time. That was a mistake by me. But maybe in a 4 or 6 player I would go and sit, I really wanted to complete that order at that time, but I just couldn't, because it was closed off for me. And that feeling, I really dislike that feeling. You can have that feeling sometimes where it's like, I can't, damn it. But at 4 or 6 players, you very often go out of it just going, that wasn't worth it. And if you decide earlier, you get less rewards, but you get to do it. But I just don't think that weighs it up. So at 4 or 6, it feels fairly unbalanced in both in the wake-up routine and the amount of stuff you can do. At 5, as I say, you have access to all 3 spots. There's still going to be 2 misses out if you go by that. But it's going to be less. The chances of all 5 people doing the same thing on the same turn is low. It's pretty low, so you're going to still be there and you're going to miss out on a few points. And that's when I say you're going to miss out on a few points. Damn it, I got the 2 things done at the 3rd thing, damn it. But in 4 or 6 you will go down and go, I could barely get that 1 thing done. And at 2 or 3 you are definitely going to go there, I just took that from me, well, I can just do all this instead, Because you have access to all of it, and of course you have the grounded worker, but that's only once. So 2 or 3 is my preferred. 5 I can say okay. 4 or 6 you're gonna have to convince me, and that's definitely the downgrade for it. So the final rating for Viticulture and Essential Edition, of course, and Tuscany Essential Edition, and more visitors from Rhine Valley, all of that is a 9 out of 10. I really like the game, it's amazing, I love playing it. It's just, as I said, a few things in gameplay, and of course the player count thing drags it a little bit down for me, but I still think it's a really good game and works really well. And of course, am I keeping it? Yes, I am. It's staying in my collection. I want to play cooperative as quickly as possible, although cooperative games is not my favorite, but I really want to get this one played, World, as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I don't know when that is, but as quickly as possible and get it to the table and play Tuscany some more, because I really like Tuscany. Maybe I'll fall more in love with it, who knows. I have to play it at 4 or 6, I think. I haven't played it at that yet, because as I say, I've a little bit on the backside of that. But I think I'm going to have to try it out, just to see. I'm not hoping for much, but Tuscany is definitely, I can't play without Tuscany. I don't think I can. But it's a real, both Viticulture Essential Edition and that is really great. And that's my review of Viticulture. A little bit disappointing, but still a really great game, and I fully agree that Tuscany is essential to have. So, that's another review done. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye.